Okay. So you should have an overview of the pandas data frames. If you haven't watched that video here yet, please do so. That'll get you kind of up to speed on pandas. Remember, we used pandas last week. We just pulled the data out of the data frame and then put it into a NumPy array and then was able to display that graphically using Matplotlib. Now, instead of doing that, we're actually going to just go straight from the data frame into Matplotlib so that you guys can plot those out. But what we're focusing on with this mini project is going out to find some kind of data source. So this will be the one data set requirement type mini project. And what you're going to do is try to find some data set, get familiar with it, try to pull information out of it, know what it is, and then we're going to work on asking those questions and trying to figure out what we want to get out of it. So just looking at the homework assignment here, this is all fairly easy. You guys know what's coming in those points. It'll be very similar to the last video. We'll get you started there. And then using a data source of your choice, you can either use something like data.gov. You could use the Faker package here. However, I would strongly suggest that you try to find a data set that works for you. That way you can actually interact and pull some information out of there. Generally, data sets are going to come in either JSON format or maybe a CSV if you're downloading a bunch of data sets from Kaggle, etc. Those would work. And the idea is that you need to come up with some kind of question of something you would like to solve. So, for example, how many homes in the US have access to 100 meg internet or more? How many movies has Ridley Scott directed on Netflix, right? So, if we wanted to say something like this Netflix one, we could go out here to this data set. And Kaggle is a great place to go gain data sets. So let me go back to where we were here. Sorry. I'll take you out to Kaggle directly. Let's see here. Pandas. That's not what I want here. 5 in Kaggle. All right, so let's right click on Kaggle. And there's a ton of different places you can get data sets. Like I said, data.gov if you want to deal with government data sets. But what's nice about this part is you can do a search on anything that you're curious of. So you can come out here and do stuff on movies. You can do stuff on cybersecurity vulnerability risks. Fashion, if you want to figure out what the latest fashion is out there. It's kind of whatever you want to do. I leave this wide open so that you find something that's of interest to you and doesn't matter what it is. So let's click on this 1500 North American restaurants. And inside this one, if we look and see what we all provide, the columns is what's going to go through here. So the idea, and you'll figure this out when you watch the pandas data set, is that we are looking for two-dimensional data. We should have columnar data, meaning that we're going to have the name column, and then we have the restaurant. And we have all these different columns coming in, and then the data that associates with them. So say you want to figure out of the top 1,500 North American restaurants, which one of those have delivery enabled, have some kind of delivery service. And so you could pull that information out of this given data set. That's a good question to pull out. You could also pull out and be able to graph how many of those are located in the different states, right? So we're getting a list of these 1,500. We have all the different states where that one's listed. You may want to find out that there's 5 in Kansas and 5 in Florida or whatever, and that'd make for a nice little chart to kind of graph that out. So to get access to this particular data set, you can scroll down here and we can see that we have the name of the restaurant, for example, Burger King. Where is it housed at? Manitowoc. And again, it's pulling out the main chains as to where it's going through in Wisconsin. And if you scroll over to the right, you can see everything else that's provided in that data set. So we can look over here. We can see our other columns of data. You can give them a weighted rating so that you can pull some information back out of there as well. So what we can do is we can click on this version 1 up here. And that's going to show us what's in that history. What we want to deal with is this download button. They moved it on me here. So we click on the download button. And let's just throw this in downloads. I encourage you to save this somewhere where you have it locally. It's always going to name it archive something, so you want to make sure you grab something yourself. So this would be something like top 1,500 restaurants, something like that. Let's save that. And that was a zip file, so you'll just unzip that. Let me pull that up real quick here. And then after unzipping, inside you should have a CSV file. It's loading here. Give it just a second. Okay. So we have this data file here, and it's going to again have all the names of the restaurants. You might want to expand this a little bit so you can kind of see, but get familiar with your data. The idea being that we should be able to get some of this data as it comes back and where we want to put it at. So what kind of cuisine goes through there. Notice they've got tons of different information in the cuisine section and whether it has pickup, delivery, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So with this data set, we would want to bring that into our project and be able to read that into a data frame. And then you could start figuring out how you want to pull that information. So to get started, we'll go out here again, go out to our GitHub. And this should be something like MiniProject 2. And again, your full name. We'll make sure we're public. We'll add a README. Go ahead and just set up a template right away using Python and create a repository. Then come in here, grab your link. Let's fire up PyCharm. And so while PyCharm's loading up here, I want to point you out, and again, and when you watch that video, you'll see this, but you can come out here to the documentation for pandas, and it will show you how to drill into those different data structures. Our video is going to show you that too. So you can pull out the columns in there, you can pull out the different data. Your goal is to take those data frames or the data that you care about, get it into a list or an array so that you could then pull that up with matplotlib just like we did last week. But the idea is that you're going to be able to make some much fancier matplotlib. So you're going to spend more time on the matplotlib documentation from last week and try to see if you can label your graphs, maybe make multicolor charts, put more detailed information on the graph so that they look nice and clean. It's kind of why we tested a little bit of that last week. So we'll go ahead and put in our URL for MiniProject. And again, for this starter, I'm just going to show you how to pull the information into your main area. So again, when you first come in here, you'll have to go set up a Python interpreter. Let's at least do that part. Give it a little bit to load here. Let's go with this out over here. Settings, project, interpreter, add new, local, new, and we want to base it off 12. Great. Okay. And hit OK. Okay, so now that we got an interpreter up, obviously it's still doing this part. We do need to pip install our pandas. So let's come over here, get that part done. Pip install pandas. Obviously, you'll still need to go install your matplotlib, etc., in order to be able to graph that. Right now, this starter video is just intended to get the information in from pandas. So let's do that. So it's already going to install NumPy and all the other dependencies that are associated with pandas. And so as that video pointed out, when you're out here working on the pandas stuff, you can work with some of the tutorials, and that's going to help you. How do I pull stuff out, right? So how do I create plots in pandas? And this would show you how to take this information over here and build it out into those nice little charts. So if we look at this particular example, again, you want to make sure you import these in the appropriate manner. So for us, we're going to want to grab those. And let's go out and create ourselves just a main file. So new Python file. Let's do main for now. And yes, of course, we're going to add this to our listing. We'll import pandas and we will import our pyplot. Okay. We should, once this is all done, get an error that pyplot's not, or matplotlib's not installed, which is fine. We can take care of that. And then we're going to set up a line that looks like this for what we're doing. So let's go ahead and pull up a line. And what this does is we're setting up this variable. They use the example air quality. We're going to do something more like restaurants. Right. And then a pd.read CSV. So that's going to allow us to read in the CSV file. Let's go up here to our Excel sheet. That's what we have. So we're going to go ahead and close that. We don't want to save anything in there. I'm going to grab that from where I downloaded and drop that into my project up here at the top. All right, something like that. And we're going to move the file in. That's correct. Refactor. And it brings it in here. We do not want to add that to our repo. Okay. A lot of you are going to pull some CSV files down and it's going to cause problems because they're way too large. So what I've learned is we do not want to add that in. So let's go ahead and hit cancel. And this should stay red. So again, you're not going to commit your data in here. What you are going to do is in your README, send me out to that link. So we have this link here for the data. You're going to take this and you're going to put this in your README in that section that tells me where to go gather your data. I will come out here, download it, put it into your repository, and then I should be able to execute your code. So again, you're not going to submit your CSV file. We ran into some issues last year with them being way too big. Okay, so we could do the same thing here. You know, that puts it in a data folder. That's not a bad idea. But for now, we're just going to change that CSV name. And we're going to put that as North. Just hit enter. That'll take care of that. There we go. And you could tell it what index column you want to start at. For us, it should be 0. And if it parses dates true, what that's going to do is allow it to come in as date time objects. And that allows us to maybe do some analysis on how long it took time-wise to go from one time to another time. In our particular data set, we don't have any of that kind of data. What is handy is I can come over here and double click on my CSV and it will actually launch it here in PyCharm. And you can notice it's a nice, easy to read format so that I don't have to open that in Excel. I can look at it directly right here inside PyCharm. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and leave that open so we can see what we all have access to, including all these headers across the top. Now that we have our restaurants and we brought in that particular section, we can go back to our creating subplots, right? So we brought this in. We can check to see the head, which just gives us the first 6 entries. In this case, it should be the first 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, the first 5 entries and all the columns, etc. That's just to make sure that everything's coming in. So let's go ahead and just print that. So print restaurants dot head. And again, by default, head means give me the first 5 results. So let's print, or play, I should say. And let's see here. Requires dependencies. It's fine. Import. Matplotlib, right? So let's go ahead and install matplotlib. I said we would have to do that. Pip install. There we go. And what you're going to find, and the video kind of demonstrated that too, but there's some really nice features within Pandas where you can export this really quick out to Matplotlib. You can just print it out. What's also I've seen nice with Pandas data frames is I can send it to an Excel sheet, so I can manipulate it inside Pandas and then send it out to Excel. I could also send it out to a PDF document, which is super handy. It'll automatically format and send it out. I've also done it where it builds out a website and just a standard HTML file so that I could then go and look through all the results inside of there too. So let's go ahead and back to our main file. That should be resolved now. Let's go ahead and try that. There you go. And so we have the first 5 results that parse up here at the top. Like it's saying here, falling back for date util, you can ignore that because we're not parsing dates. So in this particular case, I'm actually going to take that out. Let's rerun that. That should get rid of that warning. If you get these red that's coming up here, which is just warning, that you can ignore for this time. This is what really matters. So you are able to see that we got the first 5 results out of our columns. We can see 5 rows, and there's a total of 9 columns, so 9 headers that go all the way across there. All right. Once we have that, you could then come in and simply plot that data if you wanted to. Now, if I just straight plot it, it's probably not going to give me the best of data because it doesn't know what exactly I want to plot. For this air quality stuff that they're using in this example here, you have all these different stations, which are the different locations that are going across and a date timestamp of what the results are. So we can't just immediately plot ours out. We would want to pull out a subset of our data in order to plot that out. But you could simply just call .plot on it, and it would go ahead and plot a graph. You could set your x-axes, and then remember to use plt.show in order to actually show the file itself. When we get out to the homework, you're going to notice it's the same thing that we did before. So you're going to put it into a tabular data, which is what we just did, read in from CSV. You're going to use matplotlib to try to build out some graphs. I want to see at least 5 graphs that come out of there. It looks like the number's not in there, but I really want to see some fancy charts. I want to see you practice your matplotlib, see how much detail you can get into your charts. Again, you're just going to put that into a folder for charts. You're not going to upload that. So basically copy and paste the code from last week that takes care of creating the charts folder. Make sure you add the charts folder to your get ignore, etc. Once again, you'll have the minimum of 5 commits. Make sure you commit often. Make sure you do your pip requirements using pip freeze. And last but not least, be really detailed in your README file. Make sure you tell me where you got your data from. That's one thing I'll be counting off in this README file is if you do not tell me exactly where you got your data from Kaggle or wherever you downloaded it. And there's a section in our README for that. One thing I'm going to do while we're here, so I don't forget, is, again, this will not be the master branch. This will be the main branch. So let's get that updated here. Okay. All right. So again, you're going to be playing with this head, and I do this demonstration inside the pandas frame where it kind of tells you how to go and pull that data out. You can scroll down. You can do scatter charts. You can do whichever ones you want. I'm leaving it open to you. All I need is 5 graphs. I would like to see some good data on there. Make sure it's formatted, it's clean, something that you would expect to have in a college course, right? So give me some nice clean graphs. You're welcome to play with subplots if you want to do multiple plots in the same thing in order to get that. If you want to get just statistics of out of everything that comes out of there. So if you come over here to summary statistics, and you can use this, and we talk about that in the video, to calculate the age, the median. You can do a describe on those 2 columns, and it will tell you all of the total count for each one, the mean, the standard deviation, all of that. So if you want to plot those type of statistics out to answer whatever research question you come up with, you're more than happy to do that. And let's see, read and write. This one just gets you in. That's what really matters. I think that's the gist of what I was going to show you in this case. If you did find it into an Excel sheet, you can just pull it in to Excel sheet. You can give out names and store that as well. So if you want to pull from a particular sheet and it's in Excel and not a CSV, you can pull that in there too. All of these tutorials are basically going to give you the information you need. If you have some kind of time data series, which would be a lot like our graphs and such, or not our graphs, our stocks that we talked about last week, that's a great way for you to be able to get all those date timestamps with the closing prices and really graph those off. Maybe you're going to put all 5 stocks on the same graph, etc. All right. Let's see, Jan or Ethan, do you guys have any questions? Ethan, I know you popped in late there, but those should be in there.
Yeah, no questions right now.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead.